What is my name? My name is Jeff.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Maker's Hustle. This is episode 34 for Monday, March 6th, 2017. I'm your host, Bill Lavolsi, and here are my co-hosts, Amy Davis-Roth. Hey, Amy.
Hey, how's it going, everyone?
And Jeffrey Moore. Hey, Jeff.
Hello, hello, hello. How's everybody doing?
Doing pretty great.
Doing all right.
So before we get rolling, let's take a moment like we do every week and thank our top supporters on Patreon, Luis Gonzalez and Ryan Ohoro, and everybody on Patreon. Thank you so much for contributing and for making the show possible.
Thanks, everyone.
So if you would like to support the show, you can check us out at patreon.com/makershustle, and you can see the different rewards that we offer and that kind of thing. And, you get the fun of listening to the show a little early if that's something you're interested in doing. So what's everybody doing this week? And Jeff, since I don't recognize where you are, maybe you should go first.
All right, so I've been out of town. I am away in Denver, Colorado, which is actually the hometown of my wife. So I am in Denver, Colorado right now. I am at a Positive Behavior Support Systems APBS conference. And my team had to do a presentation on family support systems and a lot of stuff that has to do with my day job. So I'm here in Denver. I've been here for about 2 days now. And I will be here for the rest of the week, all the way until next week, because my wife is coming and we're going to do some wedding planning stuff. Yay! You could tell how excited I was. So that is the thing that I've been working on. While I was here, though, I have been diligently working on lesson plans. I've been making PowerPoints because my program is going to be starting up in the next couple of weeks. And I realized how much I hate making PowerPoints. Mostly because I don't I'm the type of guy who just has PowerPoints to keep him focused. I don't like to put a lot of information in PowerPoints. So I'm simultaneously writing the workbook, and transmuting that into PowerPoints. So yay, lots of fun this week.
Yeah, Jeff's just having a grand old time. Hey, last time I was in Denver, I felt sleepy the whole time, I guess from the altitude. Does that happen to you?
No, I feel fine.
Oh, okay.
I feel great.
It does. It happens to some people. Altitude sickness.
Yeah, also the last time I was in Denver, it was April, and it was 80 degrees one day, and the next day it snowed. So
yeah, It was cold last time I was in Denver.
Denver is weird.
Yeah.
It's pretty nice. It's supposed to be 70 for the weekend, so I'm kind of excited. Today is 65. It's 65, so I'm walking around with just like a t-shirt on.
Well, watch out for the
really
snow,
hot really
because
quickly.
It happens.
Yeah, I'm from Buffalo, bro.
Yeah.
Snow. We have Eskimos in Buffalo.
Oh, you got a point. Amy, how about you? What are you doing?
Let's see, what am I doing? So, I'm working on a bunch of stickers for my Patreon, because I have my own Patreon, surly-ramics.patreon.com. I just finished Kindness Needs No Gender sticker. Because what I do on my Patreon is I do a lot of political art, I do a lot of science art, I do illustrations, but as a thank you to my patrons, I have started making stickers of my artwork, and every other month or sooner, depending on how much money I have at the time, I turn the art into stickers and I give them away to all my patrons. And so this month I did a piece about the fact that they're not allowing trans people into the bathrooms of their choice. It's this weird Republican thing, like whatever, anything Obama did that was nice, they try to take it away. So there was basically a recommendation that trans people could go into the bathroom of their choice, whatever they felt they identified with. So if a person is living a life, if they've if they become a woman, they go into the women's restroom. If they become a man, they go into the men's restroom. It's just a way for people to feel more comfortable, and it's really no big deal, and it's really none of our business what people, what bathroom you need to go in. But for some reason, some really conservative Republican people think that they need to police what bathrooms people pee in, and to me, that's horrifying. So I made this sticker. I did this design. It's the trans pride symbol, which looks like the male symbol and the female symbol, and then then another symbol, and it's all combined. So it's like that classic gender, symbol, but it has all of them together, and it says, "All are welcome here. Kindness needs no gender." And I made these 5-inch by 5-inch stickers that you can stick on bathroom doors. And I'm giving them away to my patrons. And if anyone that listens to this show wants one, I'm happy to send you out one too. So you can just, send me a message. And I got 1,000 of them printed, and I've been sending them out to people all week. And people are sticking them on their bathrooms at work or wherever they are. And it just means that basically, like, mind your own genitals. It's nobody's business what you got going on downstairs. If you feel more comfortable in the ladies' room, it's okay. It's an okay thing. So I've been working on that.
Okay.
And I got commissioned to do a t-shirt logo design for an atheist group in Nashville, the Nashville Women's Atheist Group. And they wanted me to do a Russell's Teapot design, which is a design I've done before, which is this philosophical concept about, I think we've talked about it before. If there's a teapot in space in between the sun and the moon, and it's so small, you can't recognize it. So they asked me to do a design like that. So I did an illustration for them, but then I took the same illustration and I used it to illustrate an article that I wrote for Skepcheck about Sessions, about the joint Sessions speech, and Jeff Sessions. As at the point of us recording this, Jeff Sessions is the head of the Justice Department and the government, but he was just caught lying under oath. He lied about having meetings with Russians. He was caught lying, and right now a lot of people are asking for him to resign or recuse himself from any further investigations on Russia.
Yeah, he just did that.
He just did recuse himself, but I think that he perjured himself, and so he should be forced to resign. Amy can't be in charge of the Justice Department if you're okay with lying under oath. It's just not an okay thing.
Yeah.
But so I used that same illustration to illustrate an article about a tale of two sessions is what I called it.
Tale of two
and because there was
that's so cute.
It's like before that, like everyone was so thrilled that Trump managed to get through an entire speech coherently, speaking like an adult.
Without pooping his pants, Yeah,
and he had a suit on that actually fit for once, and a tie that didn't look like it was scotch taped to his shirt. So everyone was like thrilled. The media's like, oh, he's changed his tone. Everything's gonna be different. And then 8 hours later, his why can't I think of the name of what Jeff Sessions is? Thank you. The Attorney General was caught perjuring himself to protect, this Trump-Russia scandal thing that's falling to pieces before our eyes. So I worked on that. I also did a design, "The Enemy of the People is Not the Press," which is another Trump design. I'm working on a bunch of really cool what I call bar necklaces for surly-ramics that have the political things like "Be the change you want to see" and "Nevertheless she persisted." So I'm doing a bunch of pieces like that for WonderCon that's coming up, and they're going to be braided. They're going to have a braided cord on them, and they're really super sweet. I love those. At the same time, I'm restocking a bunch of designs, like my old school atheist designs that I had sold out of. I'm restocking all that stuff. So I'm just working like crazy. I woke up this morning with a migraine, and I tried to get us not to do this podcast. So if I stumble on my words, one of the symptoms that I have when I get migraines is that I often stutter and I can't remember words. I couldn't remember Attorney General. For some reason, it's this weird thing that happens, but I woke up with migraine auras. And so I posted a picture of a painting in our little group chat that I'm hoping Bill will put in our show notes, that I had did this huge painting once of what a migraine aura looks like. And what it is you sort of go blind and you get these vibrating bright white lights that go across your field of vision, and it's like a blind spot that's super bright, vibrating colors, and it's very strange, and it's an arc shape, and it'll move across your field of vision, and as soon as the auras have dissipated, then I get this massive headache. But surprisingly, today the headache wasn't that bad. So I still feel kind of loopy and not really all here, but the headache part wasn't that bad. So I'm actually happy about that.
That's cool.
Did you get your daily blunt?
I get my daily blunt. Yeah, I am not allowed to partake in any legal marijuana activities until after this podcast is over. It's a promise I've made myself. True. I never... Because then I would just laugh at you guys the whole time. And I do enough of that as it is.
We wouldn't care, right?
I know.
Okay.
Actually, that's why I'm prescribed medical marijuana. That's one of the reasons that it's because I have a history of really bad migraines and it runs through my family. And that's actually why I've been prescribed medical marijuana to help with the nausea and the headaches and stuff. And it does actually work really well. So I hope that it gets legalized in all the states so everyone can take advantage of that.
Well, it's legal here now. There's no legal way to buy it, but if you have it, it's not illegal.
Right. Same in California right now. It's still you can't walk into any of the dispensaries unless you have a prescription, but I can legally hand you a joint on the street, but you can't go in and purchase any unless you already are a medical marijuana patient. Like I have been for like 6 years.
Yeah. So it's weird, but
it is weird. But in fact, we just had a special election. Well, it happens on March 7th, and everybody vote, especially if you're in California. Everyone should be voting in every election right now. But I've already voted because I vote by mail. But there was like 2 bills that about how are we going to tax it? How are we going to run the shops? You know, the people are voting right now to decide how all that's going to go through. And Colorado, actually, where Jeff is right now, is the state that was the fastest in terms of going from medical marijuana to recreational marijuana. So everyone sort of looks to Colorado like, well, how did they do it? And it took them a year, but they were still the fastest.
So I will say, at the conference that I was at, the dude who did the keynote speaker was actually the governor of this state.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You know, he was up there and he was going for about 15 minutes, but I really liked that guy.
Yeah,
he was very personable. You know, he was telling a whole lot of personal stories. I'm like, goodness, this dude had it rough. But he was, it was a lot of, just a good way for you to see the people at the top of this state and who makes the decisions and what type of people they are. And, if you got people at the top like that, then you can start to see how things like medical marijuana happens, and it's really like something that I'm sure he championed by the way he talks about all these other things. So I was like, man, I'd move here because of him.
Yeah, Colorado's great.
I wouldn't live in Colorado.
I love Colorado.
I don't really like Colorado.
I don't want to leave California, but Colorado's great. I think it's a beautiful, beautiful place. I have a good friend that lives out there that's an astronomer, and the sky's so clear, and you can see all the planets, and it's just a beautiful.
My big issue is food. I can't find a good place to eat out here. That's really what it is. If they had better food, I'd move. But I'm out here.
We're spoiled.
I've been here 2 days. I've eaten at like 6 restaurants. Number one, I can't find any mom or pop restaurants. They're all these big chain restaurants or the taverns, and I just can't find anything good to eat.
Probably just the location that you're in.
Yeah.
It might be.
When I was last time I was in Denver, there were the big chains, but if you're in like downtown, there are a lot of because what's it called? I'm right
on 16th Street in the mall. I'm sitting. My hotel is right on.
Okay, there's an Indian place near there. I'll look up the name, but the food was delicious, so maybe you should go there.
Love Indian food.
Yeah, no, it was really good, and they delivered to our hotel, and that was awesome because it's like we got there, and then we both felt really sleepy, so we just had people deliver stuff. Okay, total waste of a vacation, but
tonight.
Yeah.
I've gone to 6 or 7 restaurants. I've been here for too long. I'm like, somebody please save me.
Aww.
All right. I will find the name of that place and I'll send it to you as soon as we're done. I just wrote it down, so it's actually going to happen.
All right. Thank you.
So, yeah. Let's see. What have I been up to? Well, I found out that if you miss a video on YouTube, it kills your analytics. Like, it destroys it. It's like starting over. Like, I was on this steady growth thing, and it just fell right off a cliff because I missed one video. And I'm hoping it'll come back pretty fast, but yeah, that sucks, and I don't plan on doing it again. I do have a new video out this week. I made a hand-carved sign in Elvish for the cat.
It's so cute.
While wearing a shirt with a Star Wars reference on it. So what I'm trying to say is I've reached like critical nerd.
Yes.
I can't get any worse. So I just embrace that I put the nerd glasses on. Like, it's done. It's over.
I love it.
Yeah. So
good.
New videos out. The agent thing is actually starting to pay off. Like, it's actually going to help me pay the rent this month. So that's awesome.
All right, congratulations.
I'm very happy about that. And just looking at the next few months, it looks like if I pick up maybe 2 or 3 more good sponsors who want to pick up, a few people each, this is actually like a viable business. Like, this is actually going to help me pay bills. This is awesome. So I'm very pleased about that. That isn't really a new development as much as work that I did before is finally paying off, because I've been telling my wife this whole time, she sees me doing all this work and not getting paid for it, and I'm like, we got to be patient, it's going to work, it's going to pay off, it's just these things take a little while, and this is finally starting to happen. I mean, I started this back in October, it's March, it's starting to pay out now. So
that's great.
But it is happening, so that's cool. I wasn't wrong, which is always a nice thing, because I never know. And then I had a few, I had some ideas for t-shirts, actually, so I've been kind of designing those, except I'm a terrible graphic designer, so I might have to hand that off to somebody else. But I think it would be a cool couple of shirts, and I plan on offering them for sale, like even if it's just print on demand or something. But it's something that I would wear, so I figure other people might wear it too. So I've been kind of working on that in the background, and that's about it. That's kind of all I've been doing. I got my video done. I got next week's video filmed, but not edited, so that's next. And yeah, that's everything.
All right. Well, you sound like you are being very productive.
So this week, what we're going to talk about after having a discussion is we're going to talk some more about money, because it's a question that we get a lot. We've already done an episode about money. If you haven't listened to it, you should go back and listen to it, because Jeff brought us all to school, and it was good stuff. But we got a letter from a listener who was asking because their 16-year-old wanted to know more about investing, I believe.
Yes.
And that kind of put this into our heads, and we're not talking specifically about investing because we're not investment advisors, but since tax season is coming up, and since I'm sitting on like a pile of 1099s and W-2s and all this other stuff that I have to figure out what to do with. We're also not tax advisors, by the way, but we are going to talk a little bit about investing and just the money side of doing business. So you can consider this episode Money Part 2.
Yes. Oh, so that was okay, all right.
Yeah, see, you can tell because I stopped talking.
All right, so the question that we got that kind of fueled this topic was, we have a listener, his son is interested in investing, and he sent us a letter, and I sent him back an extremely long response, and I was just typing just as things were coming to me, and I didn't even go back and reread it to make sure if it was coherent or not, but I just sent it out to him because I was like in the middle of doing stuff, but I really wanted to answer it. So, and money is my passion. So I sent him that. And really the gist of the things that I sent him was investing in small amounts right now, especially at 16 years old, is going to set him up to be leaps and bounds ahead of everybody else in 5, 10, 15 years. And I'm going to talk about this real quickly, and then I want to jump back to investing, because I do think it is important. I was actually just sitting down with one of my colleagues, and this guy is about 60. I don't know how old he is, but he's about 60 years old, and he doesn't have a 401k. He doesn't have any type of investments. He does have savings, but he has a personal reason why he's not investing. But, the earlier you start, the better you're going to be. And I know that there's a lot of fear, especially right now with people not knowing how the market is going to be. And people, when they see that the market is fluctuating, they tend to get a little nervous, tend to get a little edgy. Everybody I know who invests, and I know a lot of people who do invest big money, like not even like the couple hundreds and thousands of dollars that I do, but like hundreds of thousands of dollars. They love when the market fluctuates. They love when the market crashes. When the market crashes, they don't pull all their money out. They go in deeper, right? And that is because when you have things like fluctuations and things like markets that aren't doing really well, and then the price drops down, you get it for cheaper, you get a lot more, the prices are going to go back up. As long as the company is a stable company, the prices are going to go back up. So I was just telling him, get him to start now, start consistently. You can use the apps that we spoke about last time. I'm not going to say their names because they don't write us a check. But you can find apps that allow you to invest on a weekly, monthly basis, and you will see that money grow. So that's the first thing. The next thing that I want to talk about is if you are in business. I know it's hard. I know we got bills to pay, especially if you're, like Bill, like Amy, and you're self-employed and you have bills to pay. And if you don't make money, nobody's going to give you money. You have to pay your bills. Understand that if you do not pay yourself first, Like put money into savings, put money into situations where that money can make money for you, then you are going to be severely at a disadvantage. Because I'm telling you, we are in a place where a lot of the money that is being made in the market, most of us are not being able to take. We're not participating in that money, right? You got hundreds of billions of dollars being made every year in the market, and I believe it's like 60-70% of Americans don't even know how to invest, don't even know how to do it. So if you are one of those people who are self-employed, even if it's a little bit of money, take that money and put that money into some type of account, a mutual fund, something, and let that money make some money. And then that is my 2 cents and some change. Or 10 cents and some change. What is it?
It's
2 cents.
So
2 cents.
Snapchat
Yes.
just went public today as we're
yes.
recording. So there's something to invest in, especially if you're a young person. I mean, and you're going to start investing. Why not invest in things that you know about and that you care about? And Snapchat is one of those. I think Snapchat has more daily users now than Facebook or Twitter or something. It's really rising in the ranks in terms of social media, and so that's something that I don't know.
Yeah, it was actually up 51% of what it IPO'd. It's up like a ridiculous amount. What's interesting is, and this is the challenge, right? Because when companies IPO, most of the stocks are already bought up by other companies, by like the big companies. Those guys get in first dibs where they get to buy it at the super duper low rate, right?
Right.
So the people who are able to buy it once it IPOs, like you and I, we're already catching the tail end of the swing. So you have to be very careful about when you get in on that. And I guarantee it's up like 50%, 60% today. Tomorrow afternoon, it's going to drop. And that is going to be the time to hop in on it. Not trying to give no advice.
Yeah, we're not giving any advice.
No
but
advice.
Yesterday, the stock market was really high, and I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that there was like this newfound confidence in the president because he had given such a mediocre speech that was considered really good. And so the stock market, saw that and rallied behind him. And so it's really interesting. And we are in such uncertain times, in terms of the government and how America really does affect, the stocks with the government. So, I mean, I don't know what to say. Like, I wouldn't recommend anything to anybody, but investing's good. We invest. We have someone do our investing for us, though. We have, I don't ever deal with it. You can pick, in general, themes that you want to invest in, but we have someone that handles it for us. So. Yeah. And that's that's a good segue into taxes, because we wanted to talk a little bit about taxes today. And that's another thing where, man, if you can afford it, hire someone to do your taxes as a small business, because it is such a nightmare, in my opinion. I have my husband who helps me because we file jointly, and so he is fantastic about helping me organize stuff, but we still hire an accountant to, go through everything and make sure we're doing it right, because it gets so complicated when you're running a small business. There's so many things. And some advice that non-official advice I would give someone like Bill, if you got a lot of, what are they called? See, the migraine, the forms, what are they called? The 1099s or whatever, when you do work for somebody and they send them to you?
The freelance income form or whatever.
Yeah. So
I don't remember the number, but that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Claim everything.
Numbers. Smaller tax code.
Yeah, that's one of the best advice that I was ever given is claim everything as income. Don't try to get out of anything, because I think if it's $500 or less, you're not required by law to file it or something like that if you've done a freelance job. I don't know what the exact numbers are, and it varies by state. But really, you want to claim all your income because you want your business to be successful. You want to pay taxes. Nobody really wants to pay taxes, but in the grand scheme of things, if you're not paying taxes, your business is a loss, and that's not good. You want to be able to slowly build your business and to pay taxes, and all these things are really good, and I advise you to get an accountant if you can.
Yeah. It's funny because last year it was the first time I had to pay taxes on my business, and I was under the impression that I had to pay taxes when I had to pay personal taxes. But the days are based on a year from when you incorporate and when you get your what's it called? EIN number. So even just going to talk to somebody about taxes. Even if you're not going to have them do it, don't think that you have to have all the answers on your own. And that's not just with any type of business, but especially when it comes to financial components of your business. It pays to talk to people, right? Yeah. And I'm a big fan of TurboTax. I've been using TurboTaxes for my personal taxes, man, like 10 years. And, you know, when I had a business and I was required to pay taxes on that business, I was like, yo, I got to talk to somebody, because even trying to do TurboTax for the business was kind of difficult for me. I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do this. The other thing is, do not hesitate to splurge on that extra protection. Like if you're one of those people who does use TurboTax and they say, do you want to pay this $25 for audit protection?
Yeah,
pay that $25.
Especially if you're running a business.
Yeah.
Especially because I actually just got a letter in the mail saying that I owe $240 from 2013. And I'm like, yo, it's 2016. You guys telling me this now. I really needed that $240.
Yeah, they can come at you for any time in the last 5 years.
So definitely make sure, if you need to talk to somebody, don't hesitate. Go talk to somebody. Get that.
Another thing you should know is that if you're doing a business like I have, where you're selling retail, or you're selling anything retail, if you're selling robots, you're selling necklaces, you're selling whatever, you have to pay sales tax too, and that is something that you have to do on a quarterly basis. Yeah. So I have to pay taxes every 4 months or whatever. Is that the right math?
3
quarters.
Yeah, see, migraine, you guys. I can't word right today.
There's 16 months in a year, so yeah.
Okay, great.
16 months. You were right, Amy.
I was not expecting the deadpan Jeff joke, man. Good job.
That was a new one. I just thought of that.
And if you're making a lot of money, it's really good to pay your taxes quarterly for your federal taxes as well. It really helps a lot. I was doing that for quite some time until Johnny started making more money than me, and then it became this weird thing. But I was paying quarterly taxes on my business, and that helped me a lot, because at the end of the year, you owe like $10,000, and it's like, ouch. But if you're paying it, you know, in chunks, it's much easier to deal with, and then you don't get yourself into any kind of financial trouble.
This is the thing. This is the thing that you have to understand when it comes to paying taxes. Now, I understand, be a great American citizen, pay taxes. But understand that the government, there's a financial concept called the present value of money, right? So having money today is worth more than having a little bit more money in like 2 months, 3 months, because you could if you're smart, you can do things today. You can take that money, invest it, and then that money would be worth more money than the money you could potentially have in a month. And what happens is, when you pay taxes, you're giving the government your money to hold on, and then they give it back to you, right? Mm-hmm. And so one of the strategies that I try to utilize is, how can I keep the most money? What can I do to keep the most amount of money with me today and then pay later, versus letting them take all my money now and then give me a refund at the end of the year? Because before, I used to always look forward to the refund a year later so that I can go and buy something huge, which in the long run was always a waste of money, because it would be like a vacation or something where I wasn't actually making any money in the first place. So I actually kind of pivoted to a strategy where I'm trying to keep as much money as possible now so that I can have more money to make decisions and make things happen, and then figure out how to pay it later. This is my personal strategy, but...
Okay, go back and look at your taxes from the last few years, okay? And chances are, if you're like most people, you've been overpaying, all right? And you get a refund at the end, right? Mm-hmm. This is bad. You don't want this. Mm-mm. Because, as Jeff, I've heard that concept called the time value of money, which is basically, if you have the money now, you can do more with it than if you have it later. So I see all these people getting excited because they're going to get their refund, and then they're going to go out and buy some stupid stuff, okay?
Something stupid.
Yeah. So, and you know, look, it's your money, you can do whatever you want with it. But if you're trying to start a business or like build a business up, the important part of that is reinvesting in your business, okay? Which means you need to have money on hand in order to be able to do stuff, okay? And that's either a line of credit is good, cash is better.
Right.
You know what I mean? You don't need anybody's permission for cash. You have it. So
right. I think
that depends on who you talk to, though.
All right. Well, we'll put a pin in that one for a minute.
You talk to Donald. He thinks credit is better, but that's...
Let's not talk to him ever.
Yeah, let's.
But what I was going to
avoid
say
that at all
was
costs.
go look at your taxes from the past few years and figure out how much you've been overpaying. See if there's a pattern, okay? And see if you can figure out how to change your withholding or your payments or whatever so that you're not loaning the government, your extra money interest-free for most of the year. Like,
Yes.
see if you can keep it in your pocket. See if you can use it for something useful. I cannot count the number of times when having an extra $50 would have made a difference for me running a business, Seriously, just having an extra $50, like I could have mailed some stuff out faster, I could have made a customer happy faster, I could have, been a little bit more flexible with my business, I could have bought more materials faster, I wouldn't have had to wait on certain things that I knew were going to succeed. I could have just done them right away because I would have had the money. Instead, I'm like looking through the couch for change because I don't have it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, on the other hand, since I'm not currently employed by anyone except myself, I have withholding set up on anytime I get like money coming in. Like I was on unemployment at the beginning of the year, and I made sure to have them withhold from that because I didn't want to owe a huge pile at the end. But I looked at my tax rate from previous years and said, okay, how much do they actually keep from me, and that's how much they should withhold. I did not just say, okay, we'll withhold like 20%, and then I'll just get a whole bunch back later, because that's dumb. Don't do that.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
But I see a lot of people doing it, so I thought it would be worth pointing out, since it's tax season coming up. You have time to prepare for next year. It's still the beginning of the year. Go through, adjust your withholding if that's something you got to do. Yeah.
And then the other thing is, once you get that money, some strategies, reinvesting that money. Like we do, we get paid from this podcast, and every dollar has gone back into the podcast and Bill's pocket. Joking. But, if you don't need the money, find something, like if you're not immediately in need of however much you have coming towards you, find a way to put that back into your business, right? It's cool to have that money in the bank, but remember, in the bank, it's not making you any money. That same $1,000 that you put in the bank, it's good to have in there, but it'll be $1,000 in 6 months, a year. Right? So find a way. If that $1,000 can make you some money in some way, I don't recommend, but it's just something to think about.
Consider
You can't
investing
recommend.
it.
Yes, consider.
Yeah. So that's what I'm doing right now, like with that book project that hopefully is going to be done soon. I keep talking about it, but it's self-published, so I'm taking like $2,000 and I'm investing it into this book, and hopefully I'll be able to turn around and at least double that money by selling copies of the book at events and things like that. So I'm investing into that, and that's my first project. And then I have been thinking really long and hard about sort of expanding surly-ramics into other realms, and I'm always trying to think of ways where I can do the work once but get paid for it a bunch of times. And so that's why surly-ramics is very, I don't know what the word is because I'm not wording well, but it's a lot of work. I have to put a lot of work into. Yeah, migraines, man. They're the worst. So I have to put a lot of work into surly-ramics, right? Like it takes about 4 days for me to make 10 necklaces, right? And so it's something that I'm constantly working on. It's part of being a maker, and that's why I love it. But I am also thinking in terms of the fact that I'm getting older, and I want to be able to find ways where I can do the work once and keep getting paid. So that's why I do the Redbubble thing, right? Because if I come up with a design, I can post about it on Patreon. I can do an illustration. I can then take that illustration, I can turn it into a mold. I can then use that mold to make surly-ramics necklaces. But what I'm thinking about doing also is starting to do those enamel pins, because I have so many people that are like, hey, can you turn one of your necklaces into a pin? I'm not really a big jewelry person.
Oh, that'd be cool.
So what I want to start doing, and I'm looking into it right now, is expanding surly-ramics into enamel pins. So I'm going to take the same designs that I've used for illustrations and other things and for my Patreon project, and I'm going to turn them into, those super cool enamel pins. I love them. I've seen a bunch of them. I've been buying them on Etsy from other people to check them out and, see what they're all about. And they're so much fun, and they're like collectible, and I can take the exact same work that I'm doing with surly-ramics, the same sort of style and the same, the basics of what surly-ramics is, but turn it into something where I order an enamel pin and I order like 500 of them, and I only have to do the work once, right? And then I can just ship them.
Yeah.
So it's like a way to make, I'm still going to keep surly-ramics as it is because everyone loves it and I love it, and I'll keep doing it as long as I can. But as I get older, you know, I want the business to sort of be able to be self-sustaining in case I get sick or in case something happens to me, where it can keep going, you know, maybe even without me. And then eventually I could sell the business when I'm like really old. And this will be a way for that to happen because you won't actually have to be the artist anymore. Like the artwork will have been done.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm investing into right now. And me and my husband have been talking it over. He's in between jobs right now because he's an editor. And so they do a project and then they take like a month off and then they do another project and then they can take like a month off. So I have him here helping me out, which is so fantastic. And I'm like, we've been talking it over and I'm really not sure how we're going to do it. If we're just going to expand surly-ramics or if I'm going to start a new business with like a different name that's just going to be my designs as pins. Mm-hmm. But yeah, investing whatever money you have back into the business has been how I have survived for the past decade. Is I always, if I have extra money, I put it back in the business. And like I've always said, you know, do something today that's going to make tomorrow better, and I can't think of a better way to make your business better than by investing back into it or expanding it.
You know
so
what?
That's what I'm up to.
I just I thought of something. This is something that I've seen happen quite a few times. But talking about doing something today to make your business better tomorrow, and also talking about money, what I'm going to say, and this sounds obvious, but I'm going to say it anyway, anticipate your expenses as best you can. That includes anticipate the replacement cost of whatever your major equipment is. Because,
like your kiln for me. Yeah.
So, because Jeff was talking about how our Patreon money gets reinvested into the show, and a lot of it does for hosting costs and whatnot, but some of it went into like an external hard drive because otherwise my computer's not powerful enough to edit this show on video. The show's just too long, there's too much data, it just chokes. So I had to get an external hard drive so I could do it. But one of the things that I saw is, you know, somebody will have a business that's starting up and it's kind of humming along, and let's say that they make
take the money out.
Yeah,
oh,
and then they're using it to live, and they think that they're good. You know what I mean?
No.
Yeah.
And then what happens is, like, the machine breaks. Whatever the machine is, it could be a kiln, man. It could be a lathe. It doesn't matter. It breaks. Okay,
Yeah.
and a new one is somewhere between $500 and $5,000, and they don't have it.
Yeah.
You know, so like some of the stuff that I have to consider that my laptop is starting to get a little old. So I need to start planning for a replacement. I have to consider that my camera could at any time tip over, break the lens, and die. Okay? And if I don't have a camera, I can't make videos. You know what I mean?
Right.
You could borrow mine. I'm not using it. No, you know what's crazy? I forgot who I was. It was probably a Gary V episode.
Uh-huh.
I want to say it was Gary V, but I don't like, somehow I'm kind of fighting with it. I don't think it was Gary V. But you know, when you're starting a business, most startup businesses, they fail within a year. Like, I think it's like 50%. And then within 5 years, like 80% of businesses fail. So really, if your business hasn't been around for more than 5 years, then you're still in the startup phase. So you need to be thinking about that. Now, that sounds crazy. And for people who have families and people who have, what I'm about to say is going to probably scare a lot of people. But for people who have families and people who have houses and responsibilities and they're trying to, you know, start their own business, even though it's been around for a year, 2 years, you're still a startup. And so you need to be approaching your business like a startup. So that means living, you know, sometimes very, very, very lean, making sure that whatever expenses you have, those are the bare minimum expenses that you can have to operate, because all it takes is one small hiccup and your business fail, and then that's it. You know, so I think I was talking to one of my friends, and he was telling me he wants to start a business. He's a young dude in college. I used to mentor him when he was a freshman, when I was a senior in college. And when we were doing the Avenue Code and we were making videos, I used to have him intern under me, and he used to come and make videos and do stuff for me. And he was talking about how now he wants to do it on his own because he's about to graduate and he doesn't want to go and get a regular job. I'm like, okay, so the same way you've been living these last 4 years, you need to continue to live like this for the next 4 years. There should be no changes in your lifestyle. You should live exactly the same. Matter of fact, you should live less than the way that you were living the last 4 years, because at least before you were getting like refund checks from school. Like, you need to live like you have nothing. And you are in a perfect place to do that. And the second you start to think that, okay, I'm making a couple videos because I just put them on. One of my friends is getting married, and so I'm having him do the wedding for that. Like, I referred him to do the wedding, and I got him a nice little deal. So he's going to have a nice little check. I told him, you get this check. This check needs to go into you buying another camera or you going into the bank and you saving it. But do not take this money and think because I made this money that I am now a successful businessman. I can go and buy something new. Like, no, you are fresh out. You need to just focus on living as lean as possible. No new expenses, taking every dollar, squeezing every dollar, making sure you put that back into the business, put that into some other investment or put that into your bank account. And I told him if I find out that he spends that money, I'm going to take his camera, I'm going to take his bank cards, and he's going to be living on my couch for the next 5 years. That's mentorship. That's mentorship. That's how you train them up in the way that they should be.
Yeah. But that's true. That's how I lived my life when I first started Surly-ramics. You know, the first business, we've talked about it before, it failed miserably. But when I had that business, I lived like in the business for a while, like upstairs in this little loft because I couldn't afford an apartment, you know, and then things went terribly bad with that business, but I learned a lot. But when I had Surly-ramics, my husband and I, we weren't married at the time then, but we lived in this little tiny one-room bachelor apartment for 6 years when we were getting the business started, and that is how I managed to do it. You know, 2 people living in a bachelor apartment with like literally we had one room with a bathroom attached to it. It was, you know, horribly small and terrible and filled with cockroaches, but it was what allowed us to do what we ended up doing and what allowed me to keep the business going.
Yeah.
So.
And
well, it's simple math, you know. It's income versus expenses, and expenses. It sounded like expensives. Wow,
You said expensives.
Okay, it's income
I was
versus.
thinking in my head, I'm gonna let him slide.
Yeah, no, it's income versus expenses, right? So if you can't increase your income fast enough, you got to cut your expenses. Minimize them as much as you can. If that means you're eating, you know, canned soup and, you know, day-old bread, then guess what you're doing? You know, if that means that you don't have cable or you're not going to Starbucks or whatever it is you're used to doing, then you have to pick what matters to you. And this is not new. We've talked about this before.
Another thing, and this kind of goes to what you were talking about, Amy, finding a way, if you can, while you're just starting out, because I think a lot of people that we're working, that listen to our podcast are in the startup phase. They've been doing it from 1 to 5 years. They're trying to figure out how to make that passion into a profession, like make that their full-time thing. And one of the tricks is thinking about it from the beginning, right off the top. How can this be sustainable? Right. So, Amy, you've been thinking about sustainability recently. I'm sure you were thinking about it before this. Right. But as you were building your business, or as you are building your business, think about what ways can I make this sustainable, and what ways can I make, you know, whatever it is that I'm doing, something that can function and operate even if something happens to me. Because that's something that I think we don't.
That's the big thing I've been thinking about lately so much, because the older you get, the more problems that you have. And if I can do the work once and it can pay me in like 5 different ways, you know, on Redbubble, on Patreon, on, you know, if I can start this enamel pin thing with the same designs that I already do for Surly-ramics, then that's a way for it to become sustainable through my old age. Because I don't want to give up the businesses unless I absolutely have to, but then I want them to, I have to. When you're young and you're enthusiastic and you have all this energy, you know, starting a maker business is an easy thing to do because you've got this extra energy. But the older you get, you're gonna have to be realistic about it and find a way to make it work for itself. The business has to start doing some of the work for itself, because you won't be able to maintain it for 40 years. You know, I'm already a decade into this business, so now I'm thinking about ways where I can make the business work for me.
I love that. That was so sexy. One last thing that I have to mention, because I feel like you can't have a conversation about being financially literate and investing and making sure that your business and your whatever it is that you're doing is sustainable without talking about life insurance. So for those of you out there, you know, you're listening to this podcast, I get it. you're starting out, you want to make sure that all your money goes into your business. You want to make sure that your business is functioning. Understand that a simple life insurance policy for $25 a month, right, will go a long way. A long way, because accidents happen. You could be in the shop one day, bang, I don't know, something crazy happened, and you're leaving people behind. So, and I think we talked about this last time on money part 1, but I can't stress it enough. Making sure that you have a life insurance policy so that even if something happens to you or the business, the people that you care about will be okay.
Yeah.
I don't want to see any GoFundMe pages.
No.
Please.
Another important one is health insurance.
Health insurance
it really helps if you have a partner with a day job.
Yes.
Because health insurance is expensive, but and I'm pretty sure I quoted this once before, but there was an episode of MakerCast where the guest said, if you're not making enough money to afford health insurance, you're not making enough money. Because seriously, something that I was thinking
health
of.
Insurance is such bullshit. It just upsets me.
It upsets me too.
Well, I remember the statistic.
It's so overpriced here.
Car insurance too. I hate car insurance.
All right,
Never been in an accident, knock on wood.
Oh, now you're screwed.
I know. I just knocked on wood, not on wood, on glass. I'm screwed.
Have you ever heard that statistic that most Americans are one major illness away from bankruptcy?
Yes.
Yeah, because it's true.
Yeah, well,
It's
when
true.
you
even if you have insurance, it's still true.
Yeah.
Because some insurance is terrible.
Yeah, well, that's it.
This could be a whole nother episode, and I could just rant about how terrible the government is. So let me know when you want to do it.
Let's pretend we already did it, and we'll just.
All
but
right.
what I was going to say was, think of your business as a person. It's one major hiccup away from collapsing. So
and there's business insurance too. You can get.
So it's do everything that you can to anticipate what that hiccup might be. Plan for it as best as you can. Look, nobody's perfect. You can't anticipate everything. You can't see the future, but do what you can.
Yeah, and getting insurance for your business. And it's funny, I don't know if you guys noticed on Facebook, and maybe it's just my feed, but they got insurance for personal trainers. They got insurance for everything. Like, I was like, this is ridiculous. But getting insurance for your business, if you have some type of product where you are potentially putting people, or you offer a service and you are potentially putting yourself or other people at risk, get insurance for that, because somebody comes after you or your business. You don't want that liability. And we could talk about different ways to protect yourself through incorporation and stuff like that, but
I think we already did. We had an episode
we
about
did?
that. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So just find ways to protect. Really, investing in insurance and all those things, that's just the way to make sure that you can wake up tomorrow with less worries. You're still going to be worried about something, but as few. Yeah, that's it. As few. Can you help me, Bill? You're the English guy. As few worries as possible.
My migraine
good.
is like spreading to Jeff.
All right. Well, this feels like a good place to wrap it up, so let's do some recommendations. I'm happy to go first, if you don't mind.
Oh, okay.
So, we were talking about taxes and tax advice and accounting for small business and all that stuff. The Woodshop 101 podcast. Do you guys remember them? We did the Happy Holidays message for them a little while back.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. They're nice guys over there, but they did an episode with a guest named Brian McCauley, and Brian's actually he's a friend of mine. But Brian used to work for the IRS, and he gives all kinds of great advice about being in a small business and taking care of your accounting. So if you want advice from someone who's actually been on the other side of it and looked over your papers and gone, wow, okay, you owe a lot of money, you should go listen to that. I'll have a link in the show notes. It's a podcast episode. Listen to it while you're driving, but pull over and take notes because you'll probably need to.
And save those receipts.
Yes. All right, so I'll go
so
next.
I'll go. Oh, okay.
Oh, it's okay. Well,
I have one for Jeff though. Like, my recommendation is specifically for Jeff.
Okay.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's find out.
Can I go?
I know what this one is.
You're in Denver. Do you know who Jean-Michel Basquiat is? Jeff.
The name is from. I know that they're a fashion designer.
No, graffiti artist. Right?
Jean-Michel Basquiat was the first black artist to break into mainstream pop art in the 1960s. He was also the first graffiti artist to go mainstream. He is one of my all-time favorite artists in the whole world. Him and Frida Kahlo are my two absolute favorite artists. I love them so much. The unfortunate thing about Jean-Michel is that he died very, very young of, I believe, a heroin overdose. He had a very bad heroin problem. He grew up, creating these amazing pieces of art, sort of like Banksy does now, like stuff that was like painted on doors in the city, and like people would cut the doors off and sell them for millions of dollars. I mean, this guy was amazing. There's an exhibit happening right now at the Museum of Contemporary Art in Denver. You sort of have to know a little bit about Jean-Michel, I think, to really appreciate it, because it's a photo series that was taken by his girlfriend of him before he got famous. And now, mind you, he died in his 20s. He was very young when he died. So these are photos of him like when he was like probably 18 years old, but it's really moving. And if you're interested at all in, art history or black culture or graffiti art history, Jean-Michel Basquiat is someone that you really need to learn about. I absolutely love his work. So check it out. Do a Google search on him, and we'll put a link to this exhibit in our show notes. But Jeff, if you get a chance, man, it's in Denver. Go check out these really cool photos of a historical black man that, like, he changed art. He was friends with Andy Warhol and all those guys, but his work to me is so much more interesting, and it just these like really cool scribbles and like outsider art that became mainstream. And being the first black artist to sort of break into the museums and the big time was amazing. Someone once asked him, how do you feel about being a black artist? And he's like, I use all colors. He was like really funny and did all these he's like always really smart and witty. And it's a tragedy that we lost him so young, but educate yourself. Jean-Michel Basquiat, learn about him.
Yeah, and he spent, when he was famous, he basically hung out on the Lower East Side in Manhattan and just did his thing.
Yeah,
so, like,
just did his thing.
He was born in Brooklyn, he lived in Manhattan, and then he died there. So, like, that was his whole life.
Yeah, New York
like right
artist.
in your backyard.
He was so cool. Yeah, he was. Oh God, I love him so much. He's so good.
All right, that's a good
Check
one.
it out.
Jeff, how about you?
Well, there goes I'm gonna be honest with you. Mine, I don't have as much fire. Mine seems kind of small and boring after that. I'm sad. I got to follow up after that.
I'm sorry. I got excited.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. I'll try to follow up.
Dude, I suggested a podcast about taxes. Okay.
Yeah, but you didn't have to follow up the Basquiat. Like,
I'll edit it so that mine's last.
No, don't do that. Don't do that. It's okay. So my thing is, I think one of the coolest things that I've heard about in a while. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to the news, but NASA just announced that they found 7 Earth-sized planets about 40 light years away.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And they orbit a dwarf star, and all of them, if I'm not mistaken, all of them are within, if not most of them, are within the habitable zone. So they're not too far away from the star, not too close to the not too close to the star where they'd be too hot. And the star is a red dwarf, so it's not as hot as our star. But it's super cool because they're saying that like maybe 4 of the planets they're confident has liquid water on the surface, and then the other 3, the ones that are further away and the one that's super close, because of the size of the star and the distance that they are, the other 3 could also have liquid water on the surface if the conditions are right. And it's super cool because, as we're trying to search for life on other planets, they always, because we only have the sample size of Earth, and we're using that as our starting off point, we kind of have to look at specific criteria to say whether or not a planet could potentially have life on it. And so finding a star that is a red dwarf, so it's not too big, that has 5 Earth-sized planets, and Earth-sized planets are important because you need to have the right size and the right makeup to be able to make sure it doesn't get too hot or too cold or too much gas and all these other things. So finding a star that's relatively close, 40
40 light years.
40,000 light years. 40 light years. Something crazy. It's really far if you looked at how far it is, but it's not as far as other stars. But it's super cool because 3 or 4 out of 7 planets could potentially have water, which is an indicator of possible life as we know it. Now, that doesn't even mean, that's one thing that I always find interesting, because we look at planets that are similar to Earth to find life as we know it. That doesn't mean that all the planets that are out there don't have life like we don't know it, because we don't know.
Yeah, we just have a very small sample size of what
we have
life
a very
is.
small. So it's super cool. Like, literally, all those planets could possibly have life on them, and it's just nothing like the life that we know. You know what I'm saying? Even some of the, planets and moons in our solar system could have some type of life that is either silicon based or based on some other type of molecular structure that we're not familiar with, because we're here on Earth and we're so small-minded. But that's just something that is super interesting to me, and I saw that and I was like, oh, okay, some progress.
Yeah, our good friend Beth, who did our logo for our podcast, actually just did an article about this on madartlab.com, so we'll link to that if we can in the show notes.
Okay,
She talks all about the different planets.
I don't have to go looking things up.
Yeah, and it's a great place for us to look for life, which is the most exciting thing, because it's the closest, I think, that we've found so far. Well, actually, some of our moons could harbor life under the surface. Some of our moons probably have life. But this is a really excellent place. Yes, and I would love to go there. And now, I would like to go there now. Can we go there now?
I'm going to be honest with you. I would volunteer for a space tour. Like, if they needed people to go to Mars, I would go to Mars.
I wouldn't go to Mars, but I'd go to one of these habitable planets, because Mars isn't habitable.
Yeah, you know how long it takes to get to Jupiter?
Yeah, but let's be creative here. Use some sort of a, like a time warp wormhole type thing. And
if that's the case, why go to those ones?
Bypass physics.
Well, if that's the case, I'm going to the ones that we know have water. I'm going to the moons to the planets we just found. I'm skipping
that's
these
what
guys.
I'm saying.
Well, it's funny you say that. I mean, based on the speed of spacecraft that we have now, and granted, we have not been overly concerned with building very fast spacecraft, because an unmanned drone can get there whenever it gets there. We've been concentrating on fuel efficiency, which basically means it takes the long way around gravitational slingshots and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Based on the fastest spacecraft that we've ever built, if we left right now for that 40 light years away planet, it would take us 100,000 years to get there. Yeah, just based on back of the napkin stuff. I'm probably wrong, but yeah. Because my wife was saying, so how long would it take us to get there? I said, well, we're not going anywhere close to the speed of light, so 100,000 years.
Super long.
Yeah, so it'll be a while.
Not even, yeah. But,
we'll figure it out.
I just have a, I just have a small request. And if you, the funny thing is, it's not funny, it's extremely sad to me, but we haven't been to the moon since, like, 1979. It's been so long. And, we do these space missions, and I think it's important that we continue to send out the unmanned, like Voyager and Juno and all those. But we need to send somebody back to the moon just so that we can practice.
You not watch the news? Elon Musk just announced last week that he's sending, they're not going to land, but they're going to go fly around the moon, and that's just the first step. So 2 private citizens, of course this is only for rich people, as is everything in the United States right now, but he's taking 2 private citizens on a trip around the moon and back, and so it's just a matter of time before he lands people on the moon. So it's going to become like a private, super rich tourist industry at first, but at least it's going to get us there. So that's exciting.
Yeah, that does give me hope. If it wasn't for Elon, I don't know where we'd be. I'll be honest with you.
But I think it's going to happen soon with SpaceX and Elon Musk and all the stuff he's doing. I mean, if you're just going to do a trip around the moon and back, obviously the next step is to land. Yeah.
All right.
So it'll happen.
Well, that's it for this week. But before we go,
now you officially geeked out. Nerded out.
There we go.
Now
I'm wearing my Mars rover T-shirt today.
There you go, Bill.
But before we close it up for the week, why don't we talk about where everybody can find you?
You can find me on all social media at surly-amy. You can find me on Patreon as surly-amy. You can find surly-ramics at surly-ramics.com.
All right. If you can find me in Denver, Colorado until Tuesday. I don't know what that is. The 7th. March 7th, I'll be in Denver, Colorado. But this episode doesn't come out until Monday the 6th. So by the time you hear this, I'll probably be on my way to the airport and out of Denver, Colorado. So if you're looking for me after Tuesday the 7th, you can find me on social media at more4, the F being the number 4.
And you can find me at One Car Workshop on your social media platform of choice, or at onecarworkshop.com, or on YouTube at Bill Lavolsi. So that's it for this week. If you are listening to the show on iTunes, please take a moment, leave us a rating, tell us what you think. I'm serious. I ask for this every week. It would take you 5 minutes. I would really appreciate it. Consider it a personal favor to me. Go do it.
Please go leave us a comment.
Yeah, and we love reading them. They're fun. You can also find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Makers Hustle. If you want to ask a question, give feedback, or suggest a show topic, you can contact us through those social media accounts, or you can send an email to info@makershustlepodcast.com. Once again, thank you so much for listening. We really do enjoy having you here. And while this show might be over, the hustle
never stops.
We'll see you next week, everybody.
Unless you don't have insurance. If you don't have insurance, then the hustle might stop for you.
Ooh.
And if the IRS comes and gets you, that might
yeah,
stop.
Jeff, we gotta have a chat about your tax strategy.